Welcome to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, brought to you by Pilma. This podcast helps lead lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Here is your legal marketing expert and host, Ken Hardison.
Hello, everyone. This is Ken Hardison, and welcome to another episode of Grow Your Law Firm. And today, I have the honor and the privilege of having the CEO lawyer, Awad himself. Thank you for being here, Ali.
It's my pleasure, as always, man. I love doing these shows.
And today we're going to do a little different. We're going to talk about the landscape of legal marketing, of where it was and where it is now. And we're going to ask each other questions. So this is going to be more like a conversation than me just interviewing Ali. So thank you, Ali, for being here. You've been on this podcast before, and it's always one of our biggest downloads. And we are getting a load of downloads now. We're getting about 3,000 downloads a week.
Well, we were talking about this earlier before the show started. I kind of want to touch on it because it's so important. Every lawyer wants to get cases for cheap. They want to be able to sign up clients for $500, $600 a case because they know that the value is going to be $10, $20, $30, $50,000. And when you were marketing, you were generating cases for $500 or $600, whereas your competitors were doing it for $2,000 to $3,000 per case. No matter what they did, they could never outperform you because you had that competitive edge. Now, in today's landscape, in 22 and beyond, social media is what gets you those lower costs per cases. And the reason it does that is because you're spending more money in the beginning to get the attention from people. You want them to follow your page, to be engaged with your content. And remarketing to them and retargeting them is so much cheaper than continuously putting out new content for them on TV or radio or billboards. So the digital landscape of today is spend more in the beginning so you can capture people into your audience, get them to like your page, get them into that funnel. And then the cost for retargeting them gets so much cheaper overall. In my experience, 2019, 2018, 2020, our cost per case had skyrocketed past $3,000 per case. And it didn't make sense. Anyone that was looking at my numbers would say, why are you spending $3,000 to generate a single personal injury case? And it shot up to like $3,700. It's because I was building a brand. I wasn't focused just on lead generation. Every additional follower that I grabbed on Instagram, every additional supporter on Facebook, every subscriber on YouTube, those had an inherent long-term value. And so over the years, the cost went from $3,000, $4,000 to $2,000 or $3,000 to $1,000 or $2,000. And now we actually have a problem where we're signing up too many cases and we need to focus on the fulfillment. It's a problem that I think a lot of lawyers would love to have, which is I have too many cases. I need to slow down on my marketing and focus on the shop, attend to my clients that we've already gotten. And this is the problem that I have today. And so I think most lawyers would love to have that problem. I'd love to be in a situation where I have too many cases and I want to slow down on my marketing. And I'm telling you, the way that you do it is by becoming that big fish in the small pond of your local city, your town, your state. We have 10 million people in Georgia. And if you go after 1% of that population, you're able to get 100,000 of those followers, even a fifth of 1%. You get 20,000 local followers from Georgia on your social media page, and you retarget to those people and they become super loyal fans. You are going to be leaps and bounds ahead of every single other person because you don't have to keep spending money to advertise to those people. When you drop a message in Facebook or you send them a text message in your community app, or you post something on your story, and every single time 20, 30, 40,000 people are watching your content, you're getting free engagement. You're getting free awareness. And you still have that opportunity now. You can still build an audience right now. Once it gets too expensive, once it becomes impossible on TikTok, on Instagram, and Facebook to build an organic audience without spending serious money, at that point, you should be worried. Right now, I think until 2025, you still have the opportunity to build that audience and take advantage of the next 5 or 10 years because the people that control their audiences are the ones that are going to control their market. It's not on TV. It's not on radio. It's not on billboard. It's unlike anything else because every other one of those media is a lead generation platform, whereas this is a branding platform. And the bigger the brand, the easier it is to capture more cases. And that's really what I wanted to talk about today. And that's what we're going to be talking about at the PILMA Super Summit. We're going to be talking about the number one strategies that I use. And I have no problem sharing my best performing ads because you can copy them. You can do exactly what I'm doing, but you're never going to copy faster than I can create. So I'll give you my best performing ads. I'll show you who I'm targeting. I'll show you exactly how it's working. But I know that the next ad that I'm going to do could potentially perform even better. I can only teach you what I've learned in the past. I can't teach you what I'm learning next week, you know? And that's why like being on that cutting edge is so critical. Being in front of all of your audience, all of your fans, all of your supporters, and trying out new things all the time. It's so critical, man. And like the presentation that I'm putting for the PILMA Super Summit is going to be insane. I think people are going to feel like it was unfair for anyone that was not there, because the presentation is going to give them exactly the tools and the blueprint that they can apply to dominating their markets in social media. And it's so big. The market on social media is so big that we can have 20, 30 other competitors in our local towns and everyone can still eat, because the alternative is spending $5-10 million a year on TV, radio, and billboard. You don't have to do that. And so I'm excited, man. That's why I was looking forward to this podcast all month, because I know that we're going to go into the thick of things. But I wanted to ask you, Ken. I mean, you're the godfather of legal marketing. You know, you've got the brand recognition, and everyone knows you from building one of the biggest law firms in South Carolina and exiting, like actually building successful law practices and exiting. What would you compare social media today to the legal marketing landscape from before? Like, I know that you did these like local events where you would, send out mailers and you would get 20, 30 people to come to this event and you would educate them about Social Security, disability, or workers' comp or personal injury. Was there anything similar to it? And what were you doing in the past that if you were able to amplify that with digital, you would have probably had the biggest law firm in America?
That's a good question. I mean, there's a couple of things. I mean, you can go at it like what I was doing with the books and doing I would advertise on the radio and on the newspaper, come here and get the free book.
I'm making my whole intake team read your book, man.
Great.
Both of your books. We have both of your books. We bought all of them. I have my whole intake team required to read them. It's, you think about things that most lawyers don't, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
We don't think about remarketing. We don't think about what's the client journey and the client experience. We don't think about that optimization of how can we get that extra 5 or 10% and maximize the cases that we're already getting. We're always hungry and looking for that next big thing. And I feel like yours is way more systematic than just doing the shotgun approach. And so that's why I love reading your books, man. Every time I read it, I learn something new.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, I think two things was doing the books and setting up these, we call them seminars or whatever. They were very popular. But I'll tell you something, really. At the beginning of the internet, before lawyers knew much about it, before any lawyers even had websites, there was lawyers, and I was one of them, that jumped in that early, and we just were getting cases for $300. I mean, nice cases. And it's because nobody else out there was doing it, right? Now my God, it's worse than TV. I mean, as far as the flood of, you start doing PPC now, it's what, $400 or $500 a click, depends on what market you're in. The TV is so flooded now. When I first started, you're talking about, I had the same problem you're having. I went from signing up 20 cases a month in 1995. In 96, I went on TV. And the first month, I signed up over 100 cases.
Wow, 5X.
Spending about 40,000. Yeah, it was crazy. Maybe 35, I think, is what I started with a month. I'm pretty sure that's what it was, because I borrowed $500,000 and I was going to put it all on TV and some other stuff, but mostly TV. I had to cut it off because I couldn't handle it, which is terrible. I was smart enough to know I didn't know what I didn't know, and I went out and found an expert on systems and processes, and somebody that had helped build another lawyer, a pretty big firm, and pulled them in, and they got me systematized, and we got our intake straightened out, and we had people back then you didn't have the sign up over the phone or we actually sent people out to sign them up. I either sent my associates or I had like 3 investigators and I had them roaming. And, when they weren't putting books out in doctors' offices, they were signing up clients, or they were taking out. If they still couldn't get in, we'd take them out to disbursements. They would handle it, and we'd get on the phone with them and go over it. So, yeah, I mean, it was, but the deal is, we were doing a lot of different things, and some things worked better than others. But I think the big deal I was always big about was client service. That's why we cut off the TV, because, it takes years to build a reputation. It takes seconds to lose it, right?
Yeah.
And so I wanted happy clients. I wanted them to be happy the way we treated them. I didn't expect to make everybody happy with what they got, because some clients, Jesus Christ, can't satisfy it. And I know that. I mean, that's just the way it works. But even if they don't get what they want, I still think 98% of the people, if they know you tried your best, you answered their calls, and you were there, and you kept them informed, and you did that little extra stuff, you give them that experience while you were representing them. Plus, you kind of stayed in contact with them afterwards. I call it putting a fence around your herd. You do that when you build your audiences. So if you can compare to that with what I was doing back then, I was putting the fence around the herd. You can do that by creating these audiences with email addresses and things like that. I mean, it's just a different medium. But really, if you think about it, you're doing the same thing. You just do it in a different medium, and you do it with a little bit more flair than most people, which makes you unique, which is something that stands you out. But if you think about it, what you're doing most of the time, really, Ollie, is you're educating the public.
Exactly.
I was doing it with books and seminars. You're doing it with social media, But the deal is, and that's why people don't disengage from you, right? Because they know you're going to give them really good stuff, right? And so, hey, this guy's always got some good information. So, yeah, I'm going to follow him. I'm not going to, quit following this guy, because he gives me good information and I trust him. And that's another thing. I've always said people hire lawyers they know, like, and trust. And when you create that relationship, they know you, they like you, they trust you. So when they get in a wreck, who are they going to go see? Mr. CEOLawyer, right?
Exactly.
And that goes back into the other deal, which is you gave them a lot of good information. And not everybody, but 50% of them are going to feel like they got to reciprocate. It's Cialdini. There's a book Cialdini wrote, and it's called Reciprocity. The theory of reciprocity is they want to do something good back for you, so they're going to bring you their case, or they're going to refer you to somebody, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you think about it in the big picture, and that's what you need to be thinking about. You need to be thinking about, like you were saying, you just don't want to throw shit up against the wall. You really need to think about your big picture right to begin with. What is my ideal client? What keeps them up at night? What are their questions? And then how can I, give them the information and educate them? And what medium am I going to use to do that? And you got to be relevant, and you got to be up with the times. I mean, I was the first lawyer to start doing videos, even before Chris even was, probably before Michael was even born. I was doing videos, but they were probably not as good as what you do or some other quality or whatever, but I was doing them. And I had them on my FAQs. I didn't have them on social media because back then they didn't have social media when I was doing this stuff, but we had them on our website. I mean,
well, you hit the nail on the head earlier, and it's just simply this. People buy from those that they know, like, and trust. Clients hire lawyers that they know, like, and trust. Everyone knows this, but why aren't you using that same strategy on social media? Most people go straight for the trust. They go straight for the, you need to hire me. They go straight for the conversion. But if you instead think about, how do I get people to know that I exist first, and then get them to like me, and then get them to trust me, i.e. convert, then I have a funnel, an actual system for how I can generate these clients on autopilot. We do the same exact thing on social media. We spend most of our advertising budget and most of our content creation on getting people to know that I exist. That's with educational videos. That's with entertaining content. That's with car crash videos. That's with crazy laws that you've never even heard of. I want to entertain you first so that you know that I exist. And then the second level of that is going to be the engagement part. That's how you know they like you. They engage with your content. They're commenting, they're sharing, they're liking, they're putting your posts everywhere and tagging people in the comments. This is the second level for the social media funnel. The first part is awareness. 60% of our budget goes towards awareness. 30% goes towards engagement and getting people to like us. And the 10%, only 10% of our total budget goes towards conversion. And that's the problem that lawyers are having right now on social media. They're spending all their money on going straight for the kill. You can't convert right away before people even know you and before people even like you. So you're assuming that people are already going to trust you. And what happens is you end up spending so much more money because you're casting a very wide net and you're hoping that a couple of people might automatically like you and trust you enough to convert into paying clients. And that's great if you have an unlimited budget. Most people don't. And so if you instead go the strategy, you remove it just one layer. You go straight for the awareness. I want to give you content that you actually like. I want to give you a reason to follow my page. I want to give you an incentive to stick around and see what my life is all about and see how I can add value from the form of education, entertainment, legal advice, anything that you need. And then you're going to reciprocate by letting people know when they need my services, or you reach out to me when you need something. And the thing is, you don't even have to ask for the conversion. You don't have to have a call to action that says, hire me. Despite what most marketers believe, you do not need a call to action on social media. People know what to do. If they like your content, they like your video, they like your post, they like the story that you're telling, they're going to click that follow button. They're going to click that subscribe button. They're going to comment. They're going to share. And that's all you need them to do. So instead of wasting the 5 seconds in the beginning introducing yourself as, hey, I'm Awad and I fight for maximum compensation, and then wasting the last 5 seconds of your video saying, hey, like and subscribe for more tips, call us if you need any help. Spend all of your video with jam-packed value. You have 15 to 30 seconds to give people a punchy, attractive, engaging video. And that's why you can't waste any time doing an intro. You can't waste any time doing an outro. In doing so, you're going straight for the awareness. People are going to be much more likely to watch all of your video, and they're going to share it with more people. And Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok are going to reward you by showing that content to more people. Once you have them in your funnel, then you can focus on the engagement part, getting them to like and comment and share your videos. And once you have a big enough audience, a big enough pool, the conversion comes naturally. That's why you don't have to spend much money on the actual conversion. You should be spending all of your money on impressions and awareness. And that's the strategy that we're going to be teaching at the Super Summit. And I'm going to be sharing the exact tips. Like, here's the video that I post for this specific type of audience. Here's my client avatar. And here's the video that I create for them. Here's the, and we have like 4 to 8 different client avatars. Contrary to popular belief, you don't want every single client that's out there. Hey, anyone that's in an accident, that's who I want. No, that's not how it works. You need to go after the people that are most likely to trust you and follow your instructions, which naturally leads to a better settlement. So in our market and with the people that I go after, we tend to attract a much younger audience because they like me, they engage with me on social media, and they're going to follow all of our instructions, which leads to higher settlement values. And that's the problem with going straight for the lead gen and buying leads from companies instead of building a brand. People don't know you and they're not going to follow your instructions. Everyone knows that the medical management part of personal injury is the most valuable thing that you can do. If clients don't go to the right doctors and get the right diagnostic imaging and get the right medical chronology, then there's no way that you're going to maximize the value of that case. Well, how do they do that? They do it by listening to you and following your instructions. And when you tell them, hey, you need to go see an ortho for that problem, or you need to see a specialist for this, and they actually do it, it naturally increases the value of their case. So people don't think enough about the likelihood of clients actually following your instructions, which leads to higher case values. People instead think about how many signups can I get? You don't need to look at the amount of signups. You need to look at the profit per case based on how long it's been in your firm, the shelf life, compared to the cost of client acquisition. And no matter how those numbers fall, it doesn't matter whether you're signing up clients for $300 or $3,000. At the end of the day, you're going to have a much higher quality client. And that's exactly what social media gives you. So at the PILMA Super Summit, we're going to be talking about this. and we're going to go all in on it. I can't wait, man. I can't wait. I hope people are going to be tuning in for that. You're doing a virtual option for the summit, right?
Yeah, we are. We are for sure, because some people just can't get down there, and it is going to be over 3 days event.
And, well, you're going to sell out, bro. I mean, I know last year and the year before there was, it was a jam-packed house, and I think the people that wanted to come in at the very end just couldn't because they had to go and do the virtual option. And I think being there in person is just so much better because you get to actually meet people and you get to talk to the lawyers and talk to the speakers and to the sponsors. I mean, I learned a lot just talking to the sponsors that were there. There's all this new technology that people are unaware of, and you don't get that when you're doing a virtual option. Like, as much as I want people to come and listen, to me speak, I think I'm going to spend, those 3 days there just networking and talking to people. Like, I'm going to learn, not just to speak and then dip out. Because every time I go to this summit, particularly, I always come out with fantastic, actionable tips that I apply to my practice right away.
Yeah, we've got over 25 speakers, and we've got some, we got I think the best in each category. We've got you, who I think is the best in social media. We've got Marsh Bart, who's one of the top 5 spenders in the nation. We're going to talk about building a brand. We're going to talk with Daryl Isaac's going to talk about what do you do when somebody like John Morgan or another 800-pound gorilla comes in your market. And he's going to talk about what he actually did to compete and not let them take his share of the market. We got a lawyer from Florida, Alan Ziffer, is going to be talking about how to turn your employees into mini marketers. And something you were talking about, we got Craig Goldenfarb, another lawyer. So we got a lot of lawyers that are actually really successful lawyers like you, who are going to be speaking on subjects just like Goldfarb's going to be talking about knowing your numbers, and I'm going to be talking about the 5 keys of scaling your law firm. Because it's tough. The bigger you get, and this, you're going through this, you have growing pains, and it becomes more complex. I make the analogy is if you got 2 kids and you only got one now, but when you have 2 and then another one comes over to play with, them 2 can get along. But when the third one comes in, all hell breaks loose. It's chaos. And I don't know why, but it's like that in a business. When you just got a small group, like 5 to 10 employees, it's all right. But when you get to 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, it becomes a lot more complex. The communication, especially now when a lot of people want to work remote, it just makes it a lot tougher. And so you've got to know your numbers, and we're going to be talking about that and how you scale up, and about culture and about leadership. And
it doesn't scale like you think it's going to scale. No. You think, oh, well, I got one paralegal that's, handling, 100 cases. So I get another paralegal, she'll handle 100 cases. I get, a couple of case managers, and you think this is just how it's going to work. It's just going to scale automatically, but you don't account for all the variables and the mistakes that are going to happen along the way. And here's the thing. You won't go to a homeless person to ask for financial advice. You're not going to go to someone who's been divorced 6 times and ask them for marital advice. Similarly, you shouldn't ask non-lawyers about advice on how to run your law practice. So that's why it's so important to listen to people that have actually been there, done that. And what I've learned over the years is that the most valuable skill you can have is not learning what advice to take, but what advice to not take. The people that love you the most are usually the ones that give you the worst advice, because they're coming from a position of love and scarcity and protection instead of experience. So what I highly recommend people do, if you're a lawyer and you want to take your business to the next level, you want to learn the new trends on marketing, you want to learn from people that have actually done it, I highly recommend that you come to that PILMA Super Summit in New Orleans.
This episode is brought to you by PILMA Super Summit. June the 27th through the 29th, you can come and learn how to take your law firm to the next level in New Orleans at the fabulous Ritz-Carlton Hotel. Go to pilma.org/summit. Yeah. You said something, and this is the analogy I make, and there's so many people out there claiming that they got the silver bullet. And number one, there is no friggin' silver bullet. It takes a lot of different things to scale a law firm, and I'm going to talk about that. It takes more, but I'm going to talk about the 5 key. But we got over we got 27 speakers, and probably over 18 of them are very highly successful lawyers. And I ask people this question: if you get ready to climb Mount Everest, would you want to go with somebody as your guide up there that had never climbed Mount Everest, had never taken other people to the top of Mount Everest? I don't think so. You want somebody that's been there and done that. And that's why our event is so different than the other events out there, Ollie. I mean, we don't have the flashing lights and all that, but we have really good, proven strategies and lawyers that are willing to share, because they're like you. They know they're going to be whatever. They're always on the cutting edge, and they don't mind sharing it, and they've already established themselves. And these lawyers are doing millions of dollars of business, and they just like to help, like I do. So
you're absolutely right. And you don't have to sell me on it. I'm going and I'm staying all 3 days because I'm going there to learn. But it's a huge advantage. And one thing that I learned last year was there are so many people that are practitioners, and they're so busy just focused on maximizing their law practice, having the best customer service, maximizing the revenue. And they're not professional speakers. That's not their job. Their title is CEO of the law firm. And you do a fantastic job of finding these people all over the country. There's always different people that are speaking at this summit. And so every time you go, you're going to learn something new. And even if you think you already know the specific subject that's being presented, sometimes a person can simplify it in such a way where you're like, I never thought about it that way. Or I've always known that, but no one's ever compartmentalized it in such a way where now I have actionable tips. And so it's not always every speaker is going to give you something you've never heard of. A lot of times when you're growing your practice, you're already at 6 or 7 or 8 figures. You don't need a drastic change of course. You need those little nuggets, those slight degrees of change that are going to drastically alter the trajectory of your growth 3 to 5 years from now. And that's what this summit is all about, because you have practitioners that have been there, done that. I've been on social media since 2011, 2012. So I feel like an old head in this space, but it's easy to tell people what mistakes they're going to make once you've already done it for years and years and years. And the other thing is you're only letting people speak on the things that they're experts at, not, we need to fill up the stage and just add more people. And it's not a pitch fest. The other thing about your event that I noticed compared to a lot of other events, you don't bring speakers just because they're sponsoring or just because, they want to promote their product. Everyone there is an actual practitioner. They're lawyers that know what they're doing and they're building up their business. And so it's not like, hey, here's a smoke and mirrors. I'll give you a little bit of advice and then, come buy my program or come buy this course and, we can show you exactly how it works. It's like, no, I got 30 minutes on stage to give y'all the absolute best content that works for me because I expect the same respect from everyone else on stage. And I think no other event does that better than the PILMA Super Summit for sure.
I pride ourselves on that. I mean, I really do like to give really practical, proven strategies, not fluff, but I call it meat, not fluff. And, here it happens every year. I have people come up to me and they say, I got a list of 20 things. Their biggest problem is they don't know where to start. And I always tell them, you will have 10 to 20. I even had some lawyers with 30 lists of things they wanted to do when they got back to their offices. I said, pick you 2 or 3, knock them out. It's like eating the elephant. But the deal is, that speaks volumes. The fact that these lawyers, they leave there with a notebook full of anywhere from 10 to 30 things that they want to implement when they get back to their office tells me that we're doing something right.
No, absolutely, man. Well, look, in the spirit of providing value to people, because I'm excited about the PILMA Super Summit, bro. I'm going to be there. I'm looking forward to seeing all my friends and the new lawyers that are coming. So we're going to have a blast. But let's give people some actionable tips that they can apply right away on their social media and how they can start generating cases, because I think that's what people want. And so people will, so do you have any questions specifically for me, or do you want me to just jump right in? Because I'm sure you
can jump right in.
All right. So I want you to think of this. I want you to think about you are in a room with 20 other professionals, lawyers, doctors, accountants, chiropractors, CPAs, whatever. And every person is going around the room and standing up and introducing themselves. And every person stands up, Says, hey, my name is so-and-so, and I run this company and I do this service, and here's how you can hire me. And you have two versions of yourself that are there. You're a personal injury lawyer. Let's say you're based in Atlanta and you specialize in car and truck accidents. The first version stands up and says, hi, my name is Awad, and I help injured people make a wad of money. I'm a personal injury lawyer, and I specialize in car and truck accidents. Over the years, I've learned that people who get the wrong lawyer on a tractor trailer accident usually don't get anywhere near the $750,000 minimum insurance policy that's available in tractor trailer accidents. And in most situations, there are umbrella policies where you're entitled to potentially millions. So there are three things that people make mistakes on when they're involved in an accident. First, they don't go to the right doctors. Second, they try to negotiate on their own. And third, they don't hire an expert lawyer. I'm attorney Ali Awad. If you need help with navigating the legal landscape, give me a call at 833-Ali-Awad. And then you sit down. The second version of you stands up, looks around the room a little bit, and commands $750,000. That's the minimum amount of insurance that's available in tractor trailer accidents. But why is it that most people involved in car and truck accidents don't get anywhere near that amount of money? I'm attorney Ali Awad, and I help injured people make a wad of money. And here are three things that you need to know if you're involved in a tractor trailer accident. First, you have to go to the right doctors. If you don't get the proper diagnostic imaging, you're going to lose your case before it even starts. Second, don't try to negotiate on your own. Most of these insurance companies have multiple layers of negotiation and multiple layers of insurance. If you don't know all the information, you can't possibly win. And number three, you need to hire a lawyer that specializes in car and truck accidents. An everything lawyer is usually a nothing lawyer. If you want free legal advice, you can find me at CEOLawyer on Instagram. I'm here to help. So the difference between those two is they both say the same story, but they have drastically different results. And the whole purpose of the presentation on the second one is to grab people's attention and to get them to want to share the story that the person just spoke about. So when you think about social media and you think about branding, you should think about, if I'm in a room of 20 people and every person is standing up and introducing themselves, i.e. your competitors, how can I stand up and differentiate myself from everyone so much that other people in that room have no choice but to share the story that I just presented? When I go back to my office, when I go back to my family, when I go back to my colleagues, I'm going to be, yeah, man, there's this guy, CEOLawyer. He did this presentation. It like blew me away. And like, I have to tell you about it. Here's what he did. That's exactly the same emotion that you want to elicit on social media, because the highest value engagement that you can get on social media is sharing. If someone shares your post, they share your video, they share your story with a friend, with a family member, with a colleague, whoever, or better yet, they share it on their own page, on their own profile. That's the highest level of engagement that you can get. And it's the highest likelihood of your content going viral. And what happens is you're now not just spending money and taking your energy and effort on creating content and limited by just showing it to the people that you're targeting, but you're also getting access to all of their friends and family and their followers. Almost everyone I know has 500 to 2,000 friends on Facebook. How can you access their friends and family on Facebook for free? It's by creating content that people are going to want to share on their pages. Now, the goal should be shareability. And the mindset should be, I only want to get 10 or 20 people in a room with one of them to share my content, because that's essentially how viral content works. You get one person that likes your stuff and they share it with a like-minded individual, and it creates a snowball effect where people want to continue sharing that content. Nothing in the world can apply to everyone. There's not a single topic. There's not a single problem in the world. There's not a single war or famine or fantastic news or what. There's nothing that applies to everyone in the world. So why do you think about content in that way? Why do you think about, okay, I need to generalize it so that everyone can see my content? The riches are in the niches. The more you target and the deeper you go with this ideal client avatar, and you go straight for that, I want that 28-year-old Hispanic mom of 2 children that lives in this part of town. And I want those 70 people that meet that criteria, every single one of them to know me. And then once I've built a system for that, I go on to the next client avatar and I continue building from there. That's how things go viral. That's how you build a social media brand. That's how you get the recognition on digital. You don't go for the entire world and try to get everyone to follow you at once. You go for one specific audience, one specific client avatar. You give them information, you give them content that they absolutely have to share with other people, and you build from there. And so my strategy for social media is always, how can I get people to want to share this content? And before I create generalized videos, I think about who my client avatars are. I think about the 4 to 8 client subsets that are ideal for me. And we list all of them, and I'm actually going to share all of those client avatars and show you an example of each type of content that I use to target them, to get them to like my page and follow me so that I can retarget them with personal injury content. What I don't do is go straight for the advertisement. I see tons of videos and ads on social media that are just ads. They're just personal injury lawyers trying to get people to hire them for their services. And it's a shot in the dark, because unless you're getting those impressions for very, very cheap, which I promise you you're not on Facebook, on Instagram, because I know how much it costs, you're just guessing that the person that's seeing that content has been in an accident or needs your services. By nature, you cannot target people that have been in accidents. It's just not possible. There's no correlation between people that have been in accidents before. But there's types of people who, if they're involved in accidents or if they need you, they're more likely to follow your instructions, go to the proper doctors, get the proper medical care that they need, and result in a much higher settlement. There's also cultural nuances where certain people are only going to hire you when they're absolutely hurt. And then there's cultural nuances where people, hey, this is an opportunity for me to make a quick buck. So even if I'm not hurt, I'm going to hire a lawyer, see if I can make a quick $1,000. You got to figure out who your ideal client is and then go after that. So I don't know if that's been beneficial for people, but that's kind of how I think about social media marketing. Is I want to be the person that stands up in the room and grabs people's attention. And if I can translate that to video, to posts, to podcasts, to articles, then I've won.
Of course, I think you have. I mean, and it goes back, the key is you stand out. You got to stand out from all the competition. You got to give value. You're figuring out your ideal client, your different avatars. I mean, you've just taken marketing, the cornerstones, the foundation of real legal marketing, and just took it up to social media, which I think you're the first one that's figured out how to do it, and be successful with it, at least for the personal injury market. So kudos.
I appreciate that, man. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of lawyers that do a great job with social media, but I haven't met that many that are also cognizant of their business. So, I have thankfully, from being around mentors like you and being in, the PILMA mastermind and being in front of these titans of industry, I have the foresight now to know when you're bringing in too many cases, you're trying to do too much, and you haven't optimized, because that's when things start falling apart. And you also have to think about, okay, do I really want 1,000 cases a month where, I'm running on super slim margins at like 2, 3, 5% profit margins? Or do I want 100 cases a month where we have very, very high profit margins? All of our clients are happy. They're all leaving 5-star reviews. They're going to tell every one of their friends and family, and you build slowly from there. I've gotten to the point, thankfully, where I don't need to spend that much money on social media anymore. But if you're building out your brand in the beginning, you do need to spend a lot of money. You need to get that critical mass first. The critical mass, I think, is 10,000 followers. Because of those 10,000, usually you'll have 10% that are super engaged. And all that means is we need 1,000 supporters. And the crazy thing is, 1,000 supporters is enough for you to take over an entire town, entire city, and maybe even an entire state, depending on the population. The crazy thing is, most of you already have 500 to 2,000 friends on Facebook. And instead of thinking about social media with, let me go and get a bunch of brand new clients from all these different areas and get random followers, how about you start with your personal, local friends and family to become avid supporters of you? And you start by marketing on your personal and private pages, educating people about what you do and sharing your story. And then from that group of people, you probably get 5 to 10% that are super loyal supporters, and they're going to hire you and they're going to tell everyone about you no matter what. You get those people to follow your business page, and that's where it starts, and you build from there. So it's not, let me spend a lot of money, shot in the dark, get a bunch of followers. It's, let me start with what I already have, your local friends and family. And if you just move to a brand new city and you have absolutely no one, yeah, it's going to be a little bit harder, but it's still absolutely doable. So I'm trying to change that perception of social media where people think like, I just have to spend a lot of money and I have to, really build this thing up. And, I need a bunch of followers and I need a bunch of comments and shares and everything. I just created another page yesterday because just to see if I can actually continue doing this in multiple brands. The video I posted got one view. One person saw that video. And it might have even been like my mom. But here's the thing. 1 view is better than none. And 10 views are better than 1. So you don't need to go straight for the millions and the hundreds of thousands and the tens of thousands. You need 1 super loyal supporter. You need moms. You need your mom multiplied by 100 to go and support, or your spouse, whoever's your number 1 supporter. Like, hey, I'm going to go out and tell every single person I know about you. That's what social media does. It's building a super loyal, hardcore following. And it starts with just 1. And you build it up to 10, and then you build it up to 100. And once you get to 1,000, I feel like you can let it just flow naturally at that point. However much it costs to get to that point, I prefer that you do it organically and slowly. If it takes you 6 months to build that initial following, do it, because having super loyal supporters is difficult to find. And once you have them, you need to continue nurturing them, continue taking care of them. The same way that a lot of people take care of their clients and they send them swag and they send them gifts and they remarket them and they send them mailers and they do, community events where we're thanking our clients, our past customers. You need to do the same thing with your social following. It's your market. It's your people.
I look forward to seeing you at the summit.
Yeah, I'm optimizing I've gotten better at these presentations over the years. And so I've kind of just I don't just talk about social media in general anymore, because it's like, look, if I have to teach you the basics of what Facebook does and what Instagram does, it's too much work. But you need to at least meet me at stage 2 or stage 3. So I go straight into sample content that you can copy paste right away, how you target and how you can apply it to your practice today. And it's very easy. Most of it can be done from your phone. That's what I go for. Because if I'm sitting in the chair and watching this presentation, I want to take something from this presentation and say, okay, I'm going to apply this right away in my practice. And if I show you a $50,000 advertisement that cost me like a Super Bowl commercial that was very expensive to run, it's like, okay, that's not realistic. I can't drop 50 grand on one commercial and then spend another $500,000 running it in the Super Bowl. But I can take out my phone and create a couple of videos. And that's all it takes. You still have time. You still have a solid 18 to 36 months before the market is completely flooded and it becomes almost impossible to build that digital brand. And I know that I'm the one that's really pushing that envelope, but that's totally okay. And I know that's going to invite more competitors into Atlanta, into Tennessee, into the markets that we're already in. That's okay. May the best man win. But I do think a rising tide lifts all ships. We're all going to win together. I'm not worried about it, and I'm learning from people like you, man. Like, if you come from an abundance mindset, you win so much more than trying to hoard your secrets and keep them for yourself. I thought about it. I can't possibly represent everyone in the United States, much less everyone in Georgia, much less everyone in Atlanta. There's 7 million people in Atlanta. You think I can take every single car accident? Absolutely not. I would rather change the way that lawyers market so that they're all held accountable. And people know, oh, they're building their digital page. I know how to hold these people accountable, because you can't hide anymore. Everything's digital. Everything's visible. I'd rather be the reason that we revolutionize instead of hoarding these secrets and then watching things crumble around me. I want to lift everyone.
Good deal, my friend. Good deal.
It's going to be fun. All right. So Ken, I have a question for you.
All right.
To let people go. And I've been thinking a lot about your, the law firms that you built and kind of the marketing strategies. And, you know, there's so many KPIs and numbers that you feel are super important that a lot of lawyers don't pay attention to. One of the numbers that you taught me to look at was the conversion rate of wanted leads. And we were signing up 150, 200 cases a month. We were getting an astronomical amount of cases in without very much ad spend. And when I looked at our conversion rate, it was 58%. So we were almost losing 1 out of every 2 qualified leads and qualified cases that came in. So right away, I hired 3 more intake specialists. I beefed up my intake department. I started spending less on marketing. I took the money out of the marketing budget, put it into my intake team, paid them more. Conversions went higher. You end up making more money by paying people. So my question to you is this. From the intake side, there's a ton of different KPIs. What do you think is the most important number that people don't pay attention to on the law firm management side? Not the intake side, the client management and the operations side on the back end.
You're talking about, well, there's 2 things in working the case or in the big picture. Working the case, the biggest one that people should be paying attention to is the time. I call it a KPI. Some people call it benchmarks. The time somebody gets released to the time you get a demand out to the insurance company. Because what I see is that's where cases get stuck. That's where your bottleneck is usually. And so if you're on top of that, you've got standards, like whatever your standards would be. Like, I want the medical records in 30 days. I want the demand out in 15 days after you get the records in. Whatever your numbers are, that was my numbers. Some people say, no, they need 45 days to get the records in and 45 days to get the demand out. I think that's too long. But whatever your deal is, you need to know what those reports is on a weekly basis so you can see if the bottlenecks get up there and why. Sometimes there's good reasons, sometimes there's not. You know, and I think the big thing that you should be looking at from the top looking down, if you're growing like you are, you really need to be looking, especially in this climate, you really need to look at how many cases are you actually closing versus how many cases you're signing up, because you need to be ahead of the picture to hire people, because it's so hard to find good people, right? So if you look at the last 6 months and you know that you're signing up 100 cases, but you're only closing 80 or 70, then you're growing 20, 30 cases a month. And then you got to figure out, okay, 5 months, I got an extra 150 cases in inventory. Am I going to need some more people to handle that? If so, I need to start out at least 90 days ahead of that so that I can have the people in there trained and there's no gap. And because it's so hard right now to find people, I think that's one that right now probably wouldn't have been the same 3 years ago before COVID when everything changed. I think now it's a big deal. I really do. I think you really need to be hiring ahead, because right now that's the biggest problem I see. You know, I have lawyers calling me all the time, Molly. That's their number one problem, is finding good help and keeping the good help they got. In fact, I'm going to be speaking on that. I'm going to be speaking on the 7 ways to keep your A players, keep them from leaving, because I've seen some lawyers lose some really good people in the last 2 years. And I was very good at keeping people. I've had people that worked with me for years and years and years. And it's got a lot to do with the way you treat them, but there's a lot of other things too. But I'm going to talk about the 7 things you can do to keep your staff from leaving you.
You know, I always learn something new. So just now, when you mentioned that, I texted my ops manager and told her we need to create a new phase in our case management system that tells us once treatment is completed, so we can calculate exactly how much time it takes from sign up to closing treatment and correlate that to the case value. If they treated for 2 months, to average this much value. If they treat, and so we're going to implement that right away. It's literally one thing. I don't need to revolutionize my whole firm. I just need to optimize it to get a little bit better. But on that second point of hiring ahead, I learned that in a hyper growth firm, you need to hire 90 days in advance. And that means you need to be able to, and you shouldn't give people cases right away. Sometimes you get lucky where they're fantastic and they can jump in and take care of business. You need to hire 90 days in advance if you are in a hyper growth firm. And in terms of employee retention, I had my number one paralegal come up to me and basically tell me she's not happy. She's been bringing her work home with her. She's been stressed. Her dad has 2 types of cancer and she wants to spend more time with him. She wants to go to law school. She has like other career ambitions and she can't see any possible way where she could continue working here. And she's been with me for like 2.5 years. And it was devastating because, I mean, as a top performer, she basically brought in more money than everyone else in the firm combined. But also for her leadership skills and for how much everyone else loved her, like everyone could rely on her and everyone was asking her questions. And she was kind enough to wait to bring that to my attention until after we beefed up our team and added more support. So I wouldn't be completely devastated when she left. Like she made sure that she put people in place and trained them up. So it's like we have someone to pass along the torch.
What A players do, man.
And then I thought about it. You know, I was sad and I wasn't disappointed, but I wanted to find out if she was quitting the job or if she was quitting me. Most people quit their managers and their owners. Yeah. And if that was the case, then I really have to do some serious introspection on my leadership skills. And if she was quitting the job, then what if I try just changing the job? I can change that. So I reached out to her the next day. I said, how about this? I'll take away all of your cases. You don't have to manage any more cases at all. I will have you only work Monday through Thursday. So you can take Fridays off to be with your family and to focus on other activities that you have. I will, if you're willing to wait until next year to start law school instead of this year, I'll pay for your law school and I'll make you a full-time operations manager instead of a paralegal. So you can kind of start learning new things and be more involved with the business side of things. And I'll give you a 50% salary increase. And she was like, wow, that's literally everything that you asked for. Like, I can't believe that you actually listened to me and you're willing to accommodate for me. I don't even need to think about it. Absolutely. Yes. I love the idea. Thank you so much. Like, I'm just so thankful that you actually thought about me and you thought about all the things that I brought up. And really, and she even told me, like, look, honestly, the money doesn't even matter to me. Like, it's just the fact that you listened to me and you paid attention. I'm like, okay, so can I take that money back? No, I'm just kidding. But I realized her biggest thing was spending time with her dad, and she needed to be continuously challenged. She reached the pinnacle of her position as a senior paralegal. She's doing better than a lot of other lawyers here. And I had to give her something new, something exciting, something that's going to get her motivated. And all of a sudden, it was like a completely new person emerged. The very next day, she's so excited. She's like, okay, I want to rearrange your entire template in FileVine. I want to put these new KPIs in place for all the case managers and paralegals. I want to start holding people accountable. I want to do trainings. I'm going to, move out of these cases. I want to elevate these people. All these different ideas, all these things that she wanted, was like floodgates opened up. And I'll tell you this, a lot of law firms struggle with finding an operations manager or a COO. That person probably exists in your firm right now, but you need to leave good to become great. Things might be really, really good for you right now, but that A player that, is planning on leaving, planning on making a lateral move or going somewhere else and taking a separate position, 2 pieces of advice. 1, reach out to them in advance to try to give them a promotion, to give them a salary increase, make sure that they're happy before they make that consideration, which is exactly what I did. I actually offered her a different position in the personal injury department, and she respectfully declined. But 2, when they do ask to quit or leave, be creative. Think about ways that you're actually accommodating all of their needs. If they say, hey, this place is toxic, I hate working for you, I don't want to be here anymore. Okay, at that point, there's just nothing that you can do. But if they're quitting the job instead of quitting you, you always have a chance of redeeming yourself and keeping them in the organization. If they're quitting you, you need to work harder on becoming a better leader. That's why you come to the PILMA Super Summit, to learn from beasts and experts such as yourself.
Right, because they won't care until they know how much you care. And A players, they want to grow, and they're looking to grow personally and professionally. And they will not be satisfied sitting at the same job for very long. That's why they're A players.
Yeah.
And, that's one of the characteristics. But yeah, I'm going to actually share, Ollie, the 7 things, little tips and tidbits you can do to where you don't ever get to that point, to where you're going to head it off before it ever happens. And you'll have happier, because I've always said that I really believe this, that your staff treats your clients the way you treat your staff. I really believe that. The water runs down the hill, right?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Dude, always a pleasure connecting with you, Ken. I'm looking forward to the summit soon. And yeah, man, thank you. Thank you for everything that you do. You're elevating the legal community. And I don't think you get enough appreciation for it, because you're raising the next generation of lawyers and you're leaving a legacy. And I'm very, very proud to be a part of it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And I look forward to seeing you in New Orleans.
That's right, baby. Let's go.
All right. June the 27th and 29th. All right. All right. Until next time, this is Ken Hardison and Ali Awad, dedicated to your success.
You have been listening to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, the podcast that leads lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Go to growyourlawfirm.com to find more ways to market and manage your law firm. Please leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts.